Insurance fraud in the UK is reaching epidemic levels, and it's costing us billions of pounds a year. Deliberate crashes, bogus personal injury claims, even fake deaths. The fraudsters are risking more and more to make a quick killing. And every year, it's adding up to £50 to your insurance bill. Insurers are fighting back. Armed with covert surveillance systems.
The equipment that we have to use has to be cutting edge. It's as simple as that.
Sophisticated data analysis techniques.
This is connected to a bank account and a second mobile phone number.
And a newly formed dedicated police unit.
Police, get back!
They're catching the criminals red-handed. All those con men, scammers, cheats on the fiddle, now they're caught in the act and claimed and shamed. Today, the fraud enforcement team confronts a gang of suspected insurance cheats.
Police!
A debt-ridden dentist fakes his own death.
She appeared to be upset, a few tears, but I didn't believe her.
And a footballer who claimed he couldn't play has some unwanted spectators at his home ground.
Clement is now walking towards the buildings to the right of the stadium.
Welcome to Doncaster, home of James Chael. James used to be a promising footballer with the possibility of a professional career ahead of him. That was until 2002, when he was involved in a car crash, leaving James very badly injured. Because the car he was in was uninsured, the bill for James's injuries had to be footed by the MIB, the Motor Insurers Bureau.
The MIB is a not-for-profit organisation funded by the insurance industry, set up purely to provide a means of compensation for victims of both uninsured and untraced driving.
James was not going to be a professional sportsman, but at least he had financial security. The MIB had already paid £30,000 to the cropped footballer, with tens of thousands more to hopefully follow. Over time, James experienced a gradual improvement in his condition. But in 2008, 6 years after the crash, an outlandish request for a further £1.3 million caused the MIB to look again.
Suddenly we were faced with a claim for accommodation. He was saying he needed single-storey accommodation. He was saying he needed large amounts of personal care to look after him. This didn't fit with the pattern of the injuries and the recovery that he'd been making up to that point.
This information was surprising to the MIB. Wanting to know more, it called in some expert snoops. If you want to spy on someone, the surveillance group will get the job done. It's got a team of highly trained operatives who know how to follow your every move.
We live in a surveillance society. Fraudsters are aware that they might be placed under surveillance, and to that end we have to stay one step ahead of the game and ahead of them. That means that we have to tailor our methods accordingly, and the equipment that we have to use has to be cutting edge. It's as simple as that. Ultimately, our task is to gain an objective slice of their life. So it's simply a case of turning up and maximising the amount of footage that we can get so that others within the legal process can form a good, objective opinion of someone's capabilities.
Entering the passenger side, door closed.
Roger.
Tim and his team were given the job of filming the local soccer star.
The claimant now a passenger, backseat of a red Peugeot.
And one cold December afternoon, it found that despite suffering from difficulty concentrating,
Claimant is now walking towards the buildings to the right of the stadium.
severe fatigue, poor motivation and poor coordination,
Claimant now unsighted towards the changing rooms.
and aching in his neck and ankles, James Chael was still capable of this.
The footage shows effectively James Chael playing a game of football in a normal manner, running from one end of the pitch to the other and making minute decisions in kind of microseconds, whether he should head the ball, whether he should kick the ball, all those types of things. And this was clearly a man who said that he needed constant assistance from his father, and clearly his father wasn't there running beside him telling him to score, telling him to kick the ball, telling him to head the ball. So I think that the footage really speaks volumes in this case.
Mr. Chael was playing football for Erdlington Rovers. He had recently obtained a Man of the Match award. He was captain of the side.
I guess he felt that no one really cared, or no one would be kind of monitoring his activity overall.
This kind of behaviour is simply not acceptable. It's not acceptable to MIB, it's not acceptable to the insurance industry, and clearly the courts support that view by the extent of the sentences.
It's not okay to exaggerate. It's not okay to gain an extra amount of money from an insurer. It's still lying, and when someone lies, it's attempting to defraud someone.
James was sentenced to 12 months for contempt of court after submitting an exaggerated claim for £1.35 million. His father, Robert Chael, also received a year's imprisonment for supporting his son's claim.
The money, ultimately, that MIB pay and the cost of running MIB all comes from premium-paying motorists. It's yours and my premium that are funding the claims that we pay.
A dodgy dentist comes back from the grave.
It takes a hard-hearted individual, I believe, to put his family through what they've been put through.
And a London crash for cash gang gets busted.
And he's now associating with vehicle 2 and the occupants.
In the fight against the growing problem of insurance fraud, an elite police squad has come together to form IFED, the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department.
Insurance fraud isn't a victimless crime. £50 of each premium you pay each year goes to the fraudsters. We have been set up to tackle that problem.
This dedicated team works tirelessly to bang up the crooks and conmen getting rich off other people's money.
Police, get back!
It is our intention to create a climate of fear for the fraudster. There's every chance that an IFED detective may come knocking on their door to arrest them for committing an insurance fraud.
Police, don't move, stay where you are!
By April 2012, after only 6 months of operating, it had already busted 80 fraudsters, adding up to £12 million of fraud under investigation.
These people are criminals. These are nasty people. They don't go out to work on a Monday morning like most people do. Their work is submitting insurance fraud claims.
It's basically an investigation into organised motor vehicle fraud. There's 4 main targets today. They basically incept insurance policies on motor vehicles that they don't own. Then that vehicle is involved in an accident, either staged or entirely made up. And then they claim for recovery of the third-party vehicle, storage costs, hire cars and personal injury claims. There's 2 main addresses we've got Section 8 warrants for. Okay.
The group being targeted by IFED is thought to specialise in a specific type of motor insurance fraud, crash for cash. Crash for cash is a term given to collisions executed in order to make money from motor insurance policies. And it's big business. There are an estimated 30,000 crash for cash incidents per year on Britain's roads, valued at least £350 million. Adding an average of £44 to your motor insurance bill every year. It's time for IFED to move in on the suspects.
There's quite a large number of people involved in the fraud, incepting insurance policies and being named as either third-party drivers, claiming hire car costs, storage costs and personal injury. But we've identified 4 main suspects who we're looking to arrest today.
IFED's first destination is a pair of heavily guarded neighbouring houses. The buildings are smothered in CCTV cameras. IFED hopes to search for evidence of fraud at the properties, but has no idea how many potential suspects will be standing in its way. There's no sign of life from the house on the right, but the team find the house on the left unlocked. Inside, they discover a suspect with his pockets full of cash, but no incriminating paperwork.
We just found some money, £1,000 in the pocket of one of the suspects. I'll just leave that with you.
What have been next for conspiracy to defraud? He's getting a bit playful with that one there.
Do you want it? If you come then.
Where are your shoes?
So who nicked him, Barry? You?
On the stairs.
Right,
The other house has not been so easy to access, but IFED has found a small open window.
He's in.
Police! Open the door, please. Good morning. Good morning, we've got a warrant to search this address.
Hello. See London Police, we're executing a search warrant. Do you want to get yourself up?
4 startled occupants are turfed out of bed.
Do you want to jump up out of bed and we'll come and speak to you downstairs? Okay? I'll explain exactly what's happening.
No, that is my uncle came back.
Right, all take a seat, take a seat. Okay, we've got a warrant to search this address.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I'm just telling you what's happening. We're going to search the address. It's in relation to conspiracy to defraud insurance companies. Okay, motor vehicle fraud.
No, nobody.
I'm just telling you what we're searching. That's right. The warrant relates to motor vehicle fraud, okay? So we're going to search this address.
All right.
You understand? Right, first of all, you're under arrest for conspiracy to defraud, okay? You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention, when questioned, something which you later learn in court.
What fraud? I haven't done no
Motor vehicle fraud.
I haven't done no motor vehicle.
Okay, you can tell me in the interview, okay?
All right.
Yeah, should we just sit him out of the way for a time being?
IFED makes 2 arrests, but the key suspect is nowhere to be seen. So they start the search for the hard evidence needed to get the convictions.
We're looking for items associated with motor insurance fraud, so computers, mobile phones, any documentation relating to insurance policies. We'll take that phone and charger. So this one will be bedroom 3.
The search has only just begun when there is a breakthrough in the hunt for the missing suspect.
Yes, this phone. No, this is it. Yeah.
Could this be their man?
Can we come in? I'll just explain to you what's going on. You're burning the house down.
Crash for cash gangs operate all over Britain. Most choose a set area or even a regular stretch of road on which to operate. Simply slamming on their brakes in front of a victim would attract suspicion, so the crash gangs have evolved a devious 2-car tactic. First, the gang chooses a victim. Then they move their 2 cars into position in front of the target. Gang car number 1 then slams on its brakes. Gang car 2 reacts by braking hard, resulting in a rear-end shunt from the victim. Gang car 1 then turns off at the next possible turning, pretending to be unaware of the crash. One crash gang chose northwest London as their hunting ground, frequently crashing for cash on London's North Circular. What the gang didn't count on was a dedicated unit from the Met Police filming their every move.
They were a gang based up in northwest London who were on a daily basis slamming on in front of vehicles so they can make claims throughout various accident management companies and put in personal injury claims.
The Met wanted the gang off the roads, so it set about gathering evidence. For a bird's eye view of the gang at work, DC Eastick called in the help of the Met Police helicopter.
We used the helicopter to try and film the gang causing these accidents because it's more graphic from the air when you see vehicles slamming on and the other vehicle driving off and no party of it, what we call the decoy vehicle. It also just demonstrates quite clearly to the jury what is going on.
Dispatched at the last minute, the police helicopter just manages to capture the crash gang as it springs its trap. At the top of the screen, gang car 1 is about to be seen braking hard. Gang car 2 reacts, forcing the victim in the white transit van to smash into it. Minutes later, the occupants of the two cars meet up. The crash footage captured by the helicopter was not very clear. DC Eastick and his team would need better evidence to get the gang convicted. Then, one fateful day in the summer of 2009, they filmed the gang having a very busy day on North London's roads. It's 12:40 on the 29th of July 2009. The police are tailing the gang. Gang car 1 and 2 are setting up their latest victim for a smash. This time, they're foiled by the quick reactions of the intended victim. 3 hours later, they come across the gang after a reckless crash on a motorway slip road. The innocent victim has accepted responsibility for the crash and hands over his details. The fraudsters, absorbed in fleecing their latest victim, are completely unaware of the hazard they created. Still, the Met had not captured indisputable evidence that these incidents were staged. They had to prove that these cars were working as a team, and that afternoon, their patience was to be rewarded. The two gang cars are observed filling up at a petrol station. Then, the gang members do something that seals the case for the police.
And he's now associating with vehicle 2 and the occupants.
The high five really was mission accomplished, because that demonstrates that they obviously had a mission for that day and they accomplished that mission, and that was to cause an accident. When this case went to court, the video evidence that we obtained was so compelling that they really had no choice but to plead guilty at the earliest opportunity, which resulted in one of them getting 8 months imprisonment and 2 of the others getting 6 months imprisonment.
Personally, I think they're outrageous. It's costing me and every other motor policyholder an extra £40 or £50. If you're involved in a crash, take pictures of all the individuals, take pictures of the damage to their vehicle, not only your vehicle but their vehicle. It's evidence later on that you can provide to your insurance company that might just protect your no claims bonus and prove that this was a fraud.
Most insurance companies employ specialist fraud investigators who can spot a suspicious claim from looking at just a few pieces of paperwork, meaning it's hard to elude them, even from beyond the grave. Welcome to Barnstable. This peaceful Devonshire town used to be home to father of 4, Emmanuel Paresis.
I think Emmanuel Paresis was viewed as a pillar of the community. As a dentist, you're held in high regard, obviously.
Earning a hefty £135,000 a year, Mr. Paresis should have lived a very comfortable life. But tragically, in 2009, during a trip to Jordan, he died in a car crash. His grieving wife received £51,000 in insurance payouts and was due to receive a further £1.8 million from his life insurance policies. But first, she had to wait. Insurers will always check a claim of this size and nature, so private investigator John Saunders was called in to investigate.
When someone dies overseas, insurance companies come to us asking for advice on documentation and so forth. And I think over the last 25 years I've worked in 74 countries I've been to investigate claims.
John started to look into the case and straight away found inconsistencies.
The story was that they'd spent August in Greece on holiday, and his wife came back with the children to the end of August, beginning of September, because they were starting school. And Emmanuel apparently had then taken his mother from Greece to see a heart specialist in Jordan, in Amman. It seems strange that he wanted to go all the way to Amman to see a heart specialist, when I'm sure there are very good heart specialists in Athens.
After a meeting with Mrs. Paresis, John's suspicions were raised even further.
When I interviewed the wife, she appeared to be upset, a few tears, but I didn't believe her. She didn't have sufficient knowledge. Had her husband died as claimed, I'd have expected to have more information about where he was buried, who arranged the burial, who he was with at the time, which hospital he died in. But it was clear to me she wouldn't have prepared herself for such questions and didn't know the answers, yet they were meant to be very close.
John had a hunch, but no evidence, so he jetted off to Greece to check out the paperwork. But everything looked above board. So he moved on to the scene of the crash, Jordan, where he made some important discoveries.
The death registration certificate was a fake document. There was no record at the cemetery of any burial. And then my visit to the Greek embassy there, where it appeared they'd been told all about the death by, I think it was Costas, a lawyer. When we looked at the embassy, looked at the documents and found that the lawyer had a Hotmail address. I thought it was rather unusual for a law firm to have a Hotmail address. And it was pretty clear to me that the lawyer didn't exist. It was Emmanuel Paresis taking on the role of the lawyer. So by that time we had more than sufficient evidence to show that he had not died.
John knew Mr. Paresis was alive, but had no idea where he was hiding. So he flew back to England and handed his evidence to the police. The job of finding the deceptive dentist was given to DI Mike West of the Devon and Cornwall Police.
I knew that it was going to be complex, and I knew that the inquiry needed to be focused. Paresis had stayed in Greece, we believe, waiting for the £1.8 million to roll in. But when that didn't happen, and certainly didn't happen anytime soon, he had to do something. He had a wife and 4 children in the UK to support.
A major breakthrough in the case occurred around 9 months after the fake death, when they received a tip-off that Paresis had resurfaced in Scotland, immediately alerting DI Mike West.
We identified the fact that Paresis was living under the name of Neil McLaren, and he was operating as a dentist within a surgery in Peterhead, within the Grampian area of Scotland.
After almost a year-long manhunt, the trail had come to an end. DI Mike West closed in on the resurrected dentist.
Paresis was arrested in the company of other family members. He certainly showed some surprise when we arrived at his doorstep. We identified a fraud kit which enabled him to fake his identity. It included official-looking stamps, documentation from various universities and seats of learning. He was obviously prepared for this and living a lie for a significant period of time.
For 3 months, Mr. and Mrs. Paresis had left their children thinking they had lost their dad.
It takes a hard-hearted individual, I believe, to put his family through what they've been put through, and the psychological damage can't be underestimated.
For her part, Mrs. Paresis was sentenced to 16 weeks. Mr. Paresis was jailed for 5 years on fraud charges and struck off the General Dental Council's register. His sentence was later reduced to 3 years. The Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department, IFED, is executing a raid at the first of 3 addresses. It suspects some occupants are linked to a crash-for-cash ring. The officers have already made 2 arrests. They've been bagging evidence at the raid properties for just under an hour and are trying to track down their outstanding suspect.
Just something maybe of interest, various mobile phones are ringing, but one of them potentially has the name of the outstanding suspect coming up.
Is it?
Yeah. There is one outstanding, isn't there?
Yeah, does it keep coming up? It's number, name,
yeah,
isn't it?
I believe so. It's a variation of the name.
Good morning, it's Sean Corrigan. How you doing? I've just got 3 body checks, please, if you want the details.
The 3 men being held downstairs are not believed to be fraudsters, but stored in one of their mobile phones is the number of the missing suspect.
Are these your phones? Yeah, I think the guy who we're trying to arrest is ringing them. Can you get his number up?
IFED gets access to the suspect's number.
It's PC Corrigan from police station, you're right. The sooner we speak to you, the better. How long do you reckon you'll be? About half an hour. If you make it any sooner, you'll try. Okay.
Upstairs, the evidence is mounting.
Claimant solicitors and a certificate of motor insurance. Sorry to hear that you've been involved in a road traffic accident and have sustained injuries. Okay, this is exactly what we've been looking for. You know, you'd have expected someone involved in this kind of activity to keep a stash of documentation somewhere. It looks like we may have found it.
The outstanding suspect has predictably not shown up. With the evidence in the bag, the team follows a lead to a third property.
You're a guy in the back, mate, yeah? I'm from the City of London Police. Can I just come in? I'll just speak to you about what we're doing. Basically, we've got a warrant for this address, OK? Let me come in and I'll explain to you, all right?
Something burning.
Are you all right? You're burning the house down? Can we come in? I'll just explain to you what's going on. Yeah? It's all right.
Is it off? Yeah, I've got everything sorted.
DCI Dave Wood is very interested in the burnt paper in the kitchen and toilet.
Well, it appeared from the time that it took us to travel from the previous search warrant addresses to here, which is a short journey, we only took about 7 or 8 minutes. In that time, I'm guessing communication has been passed into this premises where the lady who's opened the door to us eventually has burnt some evidence.
Despite the smokescreen, the IFED officers still find an armful of evidence and decide to arrest the suspect they came for.
OK, you didn't have to say anything but Malmy's defence if you don't mention in question something you later on in court, and anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand? Yeah. OK.
The missing suspect has still not been arrested. All other suspects are currently on bail, and if convicted of insurance fraud, could face up to 10 years in prison.